Hello, everyone, and welcome to the session, When AI Meets Inclusive Finance, Building Flood Resilience for Colombia's Micro Entrepreneurs. My name is Peter Gross. I'm a Senior Financial Specialist with CGAP, and I'm pleased to be moderating this session. Today, we're going to be discussing Colombia, Bancamía's involvement together with Atram on a very innovative pilot that we're going to hear more about. Colombia is the country in South America with the highest recurrence of extreme events. 84% of the population lives in areas exposed to 2 or more hazards per year. And Colombia averages 3.3 catastrophic floods every single year. So what that means is that vulnerable communities have insufficient early warning systems, limited financial resources. Bancamía exists in Colombia to help address the wide variety of challenges, but Atram is coming in with support from the BBVA Foundation to try an innovative pilot that we're going to hear more about. Today, we are pleased to have with us from Bancamía, Juan Camilo Flores Falla, who's the head of digital banking. We have David Del Sur, who's the founder and CEO of Atram. And we have Susana Gonzalez Moreno, who's the sustainability and climate change specialist at the BBVA Microfinance Foundation. So welcome to all of you. Glad that you've joined. If those of you who are on the session want to put a question in the chat, please do so. And we will do our best to get to your questions as we go through the session. But I want to start with Juan Camilo. Juan Camilo, you're operating in an environment with a lot of climate risk, frequent climate risk, a variety of climate risk. Tell us about the climate risks that are facing your customers who are Colombian micro entrepreneurs.
Thanks, Peter, and hi, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here. As you mentioned, in Colombia, climate risk is part of a daily life. We face floods, landslides, and droughts every year. And the people most affected are low-income entrepreneurs. At Bancamía, we served 1.6 million micro-entrepreneurs, and almost half of them live in areas exposed to climate risk like floods or heavy rains. For them, climate change isn't a concept, it's their reality. When a flood hits, they can lose everything, their goods, their income, even their confidence to rebuild. Many don't have savings or insurance, so a single event can push them back into poverty. That's why for us, inclusion today must also means resilience. It is not only about giving access to finance, it's about helping people anticipate and protect what they've built. That's exactly the challenge that we are addressing now with Clock and that we're going to talk about a little bit later.
Thank you, Juan Camilo. You mentioned that not everyone has savings and insurance. What are the products and services that Bancamía offers now to help customers address the risks that they face?
We have all the complete portfolio. However, micro entrepreneurs only or mainly have credit loans, not savings or insurance. We give them, but micro entrepreneurs don't take them as part of their portfolio.
Okay, so you do have instant loans available to micro entrepreneurs, and obviously they have the chance to save. There also are, I believe, some publicly funded or publicly supported parametric insurance products in Colombia, but those are challenging sometimes both to understand and implement and operate, I imagine. So what you're saying is effectively the safety net is not exactly complete for the micro entrepreneurs that you serve.
Exactly. For example, those insurance that you've mentioned, we have to give them free for them because they don't understand how they works or what are the benefits. So we just protect our loans by that way, but as part of Bancamía, not because of the client wants that kind of insurance.
Okay, wonderful. So what about risk reduction, Juan Camilo? So have you been able to identify kind of training for entrepreneurs on how to reduce the risks they face, or how to kind of anticipate floods? I mean, in Colombia, if you live in a place that's exposed to risk, you're aware of it, and certainly you have some plan to deal with it. But maybe that's just something they handle on their own. That's not something that Bancamía actively supports now. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, we didn't. It's very hard to anticipate floods or things here in Colombia. Not only because technology it's limited here, connection is limited, but also because the climate here in Colombia it's changed every time. Like you can anticipate that. So yeah, we don't have any kind of programs or yeah things that can anticipate those kind of problems with the entrepreneurs.
Okay, so Juan Camilo, you've painted a picture of the situation in which Bancamía operates in Colombia. And David, I understand that Atram has engaged with Bancamía to help to shore up some of these elements of maybe the safety net that's not so comprehensive, as well as this challenge to anticipate when risks may materialize. Is that correct? So, we'd love to hear more about what Atram does and then how you connected with Bancamía for this program.
Thank you, Peter, for the question. So our mission at Atram is to reduce the losses and the associated risks that these micro entrepreneurs face when any of these disasters that Juan Camilo was referring to before hits them, right? But we want to reduce the losses for the micro entrepreneurs and also for the financial provider that supports them, right? In a way, as we've been learning how to do this, we realize that we kind of need a new field or a new category of financial products, call it extreme weather finance. I don't think we have a term that really helps in these particular moments that are very, very high stakes and are kind of infrequent but lasting, right? And just to give you a sense, there's been a couple of recent research papers, one from Findex and also from CFI, that basically around 10-12% of all micro businesses get hit every year by severe weather, by extreme weather. So that's tens of billions of dollars of loans that are being put under a lot of stress, and the old products don't really work, as Juan Camilo was saying. They work for calm times, not for turbulent times, right? So what we are doing is researching and testing. We're going to be going live in Colombia literally this week on this pilot, and we offer the micro entrepreneurs 3 sort of layers of support that we think can make a big difference. The first one is an alert for early warning, say 5 days, 6 days before the event hits. This is done over WhatsApp, so we meet them where they are. And essentially we let them know there's something coming to you, time to start getting ready, right? And we create these alerts with a meteorologist that works with us in our team, and we just push them down. And we really want them, of course, to be aware, but also we want them to start a conversation with our digital agent, our AI agent over WhatsApp, to not only know that something's coming, but also to start preparing for it. So the second layer of support is essentially preparedness advice. We can craft a plan for them. We can take a picture from their business and say, oh, your roof or your window should be improved or whatever, and just go along with them in those 5-6 days so they can make the most of the opportunity they have to reduce their losses by preparing properly. Sometimes some of the actions that we will recommend require some money to afford them. And as we know, micro entrepreneurs tend to not have a lot of liquidity, and that's where we think we can inject some liquidity via a loan. When I say we, I mean Bancamía and us, because we don't do lending. Really, the loans would come from Bancamía. And so those are the 3 layers: alerts, advice, liquidity. And the way we like to think of these liquidities, as I was saying before, as sort of new products. I mean, they're still loans, but they're customized for extreme weather, right? And the World Bank and other big institutions at the sovereign level have been lending with contingent lines of credit and sort of fancy products that are designed to kick in after a disaster. And we don't see any reason why these innovations cannot be brought down to the micro level. And so we are essentially thinking of small loan right before the disaster, 5 days before, a small loan that we call the alarm clock, a small loan right after the disaster, the coping clock, to avoid negative coping strategies, and then down the line, a recovery loan to sort of restart.
Okay, so sorry to be, the clock is contingent line of credit.
Contingent line of credit, sorry, yes.
We say you're dividing that between kind of an alarm clock, which I understand has not really been tested yet. This is potentially the first time anywhere, and then the coping clock, which is maybe a line of credit after the fact. Is the difference there when a client decides to take it? So basically, the alert comes, just to see if I understand. There's an advisory chatbot or agent to support, and then the alert triggers a line of credit available to the customer, but they decide when they take it, maybe ahead of time if they need to, let's say, rent a truck to move goods, or maybe after the fact if they realize, you know what, I have this line of credit available, this thing happened, I really need help to do X, Y, and Z. Those are the three layers. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's up to the micro entrepreneur to decide when they need liquidity or what liquidity they need when. But Bancamía has very good products that can offer that liquidity right before or right after the disaster. And that's,
before we get into the pilot itself, the title of this session is AI meets inclusive finance. How exactly does AI work within Atram?
So we use AI for the first two layers. The first layer is this warning that's basically triggered by AI weather forecasting models that we have access to that are capable of seeing deeper into the future with more resolution. So that's one, more on the weather side. And then all this conversation that gets started after the alarm, that's basically between the user and an AI agent as well. That's powered by something like ChatGPT, but on our side. Down the line into the future, this is not something we're doing yet. We would like to explore if this AI agent can also be the one recommending, well, you should maybe take a loan of 25,000 Colombian pesos or whatever, and actually get that money moving. But that's into the future.
Okay, so it seems to me what's innovative about this, among other things, and you can clarify, is that at one level, a weather alert tends to be maybe a national or regional kind of issuance that might go through public sector channels, maybe the news. And this is kind of happening all the time. In Colombia, if there are 3.3 catastrophes per year, people are hearing about catastrophic events all the time. What you're doing is you're saying, David, there's a flood coming to your property. It's going to happen in 5 days with maybe a certain level of confidence, and so you need to get ready. Please engage with our agent to help you get ready. And so then the AI is helping kind of almost like a personal assistant say, okay, I see your shop. I understand what you need. Have you thought about this? Plan for that. So that's what's innovative here, is almost like a real expert to help you get ready, but to do so when AI has also identified there's risk for you specifically. Is that right?
That's correct, and it's very personalized because the AI agent will know that you, Peter, run a little shop, and then let's talk about your inventory, that maybe Juan Camilo runs a bakery. So let's protect the oven in the bakery or whatever, right? So it is a very personalized conversation in a way that only AI enables, right, in terms of technology.
Great. So Juan Camilo, you heard David's pitch, months ago, and decided to pull the trigger to move ahead with a pilot here in Colombia that's launching this week. By the way, I have to say thank you all for joining, given that you are launching a pilot this week, and also given the fact that it is very, very late in Spain, where Susana and David are based. But Juan Camilo, help us understand why you decided to move ahead with Atram on this pilot. We'd love to hear from you on that.
Yeah, as I've mentioned before, almost half of our customers live in areas exposed to climate risk. So for us, it's very important that our customers are well protected, and also, of course, we need to protect our credit lines. If you don't protect customers, the progress, you can create progress by just give them loans. So that's why it's important for us to have this kind of pilots running.
And so, Juan Camilo, there are weather alerts in Colombia, though, right?
Yeah.
And you do have loan officers supporting micro entrepreneurs who I imagine could help them, kind of adapt their properties for flooding, let's say. What is it about Atram that takes those weather alerts and makes them really useful, and takes the advice and makes it really useful?
Yeah, the idea is very simple, because you help preparing before protect during, and recover after the flood. Even we have like these alerts currently in the country. Those alerts are more general. They are, as you've mentioned, they are not like geographically located specifically at the property of our micro entrepreneurs. So this kind of advisory is very important because it's personalized not only by region, but also the type of business that our customers run.
And David, I hear that this is the first time, as we've mentioned, that loans will be given in anticipation, or we should say loans should be offered in anticipation of an extreme weather event. And so just so everyone's clear, the alert comes, there's an offer of a loan. The client then decides whether and when to take it. And so whether some of them take it will be one of the initial takeaways, correct? And so can you build that trust with customers to say, yes, I believe that this is coming. I do need to take a loan in order to achieve this outcome. So that's, I'm sure, a test. And then how they use the money, I'm sure, will be a test as well. And of course, if they repay, traditional wisdom in the industry indicates that you don't lend into a disaster environment. You're giving money, an even more innovative edge, which is before the event even happens at all. So tell us about that. How do you feel like this is going to impact kind of the metrics that Juan Camilo's bosses are looking at? Are we worried about people taking loans they don't need? Are we worried about them not taking loans because they don't understand? What are you looking at here?
Yeah, it's the first time, as far as we know, that this has been done. So we're very curious to see what emerges as impact metrics. And we do know that the customer, the borrower, will be thinking, well, this disaster is coming. Should I indebt myself more? But what I do take as, I think, powerful evidence that this can be very beneficial is the insights from the humanitarian sector, who has been, or where they've been deploying anticipatory aid for a while now, basically sending money ahead of the disaster. This is grants. But what they've learned is that depending on the disaster or the place, for every dollar that is given out, $5 to $15 are saved from losses, or avoided in losses. So there's a very high impact multiple that we think, a loan is also dollars, right? Or Colombian pesos. So we are expecting a high impact multiple from that sort of money, together with the impact, the impact you get, or in terms of savings from the alert itself. So we think that this can be a very profitable endeavor, both for the end user, who has to pay a little interest on top of the loan, but is saving 10 times or something the amount of money. And of course, if they do that, they will be in a good position to return the loan and make Bancamía whole. So we think by being smart and deploying the money wisely, which our agent, the chatbot, will support that decision making, everybody could be better off, because essentially if you reduce the risk, you reduce your losses, everyone benefits.
So you're effectively taking a lesson from the humanitarian sector, which is that $1 ahead of time saves $5 to $15 afterward. Yeah. And just to double click on that for 1 second, David, is it right to think that that's because it allows them to, let's say, buy sandbags, or to take a bus away from the disaster area, or other kind of things that mitigate the losses both to assets and lives? That's effectively how the math works, right?
Exactly. So for example, if you're a shopkeeper and you have 2 refrigerators, and you think it's going to rain a lot and you move them out, it may cost you $40 to move them out and bring them back. And maybe you save $800 worth of electrical equipment, because if they didn't get wet, they didn't short circuit, they didn't get ruined. So there's multiple of these opportunities for sort of smart investment in preparedness in the last 5 days or whatever, that could justify very handsomely the cost of the loan.
Okay. We have a question, and I'd like to take that question now because we're on that topic, which is, the question comes from the audience: how do you manage the use of proceeds? And by the way, Juan Camilo, I'm going to ask this to you. You're the lender. It's your balance sheet. How do you manage the use of proceeds to ensure funds are used for the weather-related event? How do you make sure that this loan that they're taking isn't just, spent on unproductive activities?
Thanks for the question. The quick answer for that question is that we train our field officers, people who visit clients every day in rural areas. They are key for this process because they translate technology into trust. Yeah, they help families read the alerts, understand them, and take action on time. And also, they guarantee that the money that we lend is used on the purpose of this pilot.
Just very briefly, Peter, as well. I mean, they will spend the money as they wish, of course, but the agent as well as the loan officer will be guiding them and suggesting good ways of investing that money in those days, right? So we think they'll most of them will be wise and invest it profitably.
There's a lot to learn for sure. Susana, you're at BBVA looking at this at a high level, but you, I think, were one of the initial people to connect with Atram, and would love to hear from your perspective as the Fundación. How do you think about this pilot in the portfolio of resilience and adaptation activities that you pursue, and what are you looking to learn from it?
Okay, so yes, Peter. So it's important to define that two of the two main pillars from our sustainability strategy are: the first one, to develop new green value offer, and the second one, to evaluate and address the needs of our clients regarding climate change. So this is why, and also considering what David and Juan Camilo were mentioning before, that we have seen and we understand that our entrepreneurs are very vulnerable to climate change risk. So due to their geographical location and their socioeconomic conditions. So that's why we have been, or we're in constant look or reviewing different options and new products such as clock, and also tools to address and to assess the climate risk for entrepreneurs. So this is why the clock seemed very interesting for us. As Juan Camilo was mentioning before, currently in Colombia and other of our microfinance institutions, they offer microinsurance with climate coverage for agriculture and non-agriculture activities, and also adaptation loans, mainly for the agriculture sector. So we thought about clock as a new product, a new way to approach the climate risk problem that we have. And also we are very interested because we see it from like a three perspectives, or yes, like the first one is that, as I was mentioning before, that is anticipatory. So we would like to understand or to evaluate how actually giving resources to our clients before the event actually contributes to the implementation of adaptation measures, and therefore to improve their resilience and adaptive capacity and their productivity. So we would like to see how it goes and if it actually contributes to this. Also, the second will be to the recovery perspective of the product, that it's the one that actually from entrepreneurs to be able to access immediate resources once the event occurs and the person has actually been affected, if these resources actually allows a much faster economic recovery for them. So that's something that we are also interested in and addressing, and it's important for us. And also to understand if for our entrepreneurs being able to know that they have this pre-approved loan, if this actually help them to make better decisions for their businesses in advance of the event. So we thought about the clock in this perspective, and to be able to evaluate these views. And also, as you were mentioning before, we are a group, so we not only operate in Colombia, we also operate in Chile, Panama, Peru, and Dominican Republic. In total, we have almost 3 million clients in the region. So we're waiting for the outcome from the pilot from Bancamía, and we're very interested in seeing the option, if it goes well, to scale this solution to other countries where we operate, not only with the clock as a product, but also considering the outcomes of the use of the Atram's AI agent to see if it could also be able to be used in other countries of the region.
Susana, it's not typical that a bank would be open to lending into a disaster context. Was that a big hurdle to overcome within BBVA?
Well, actually, as I was mentioning before, well, actually, it's important to understand that with the BBVA Microfinance Foundation, we operate independently from the BBVA Bank. But as I was mentioning before, since we know that climate risk, and as Juan Camilo was mentioning before, it's a key issue for entrepreneurs. We know that we have to do something about it. Obviously, it has some risk. We debate internally the pros and cons of this and the potential risk, but we think that it's worth it to make the pilot and to see the outcomes of it, and to define some KPIs that we will monitor before and after, and to see if actually it improves the resiliency of our entrepreneurs. And so I think that's what we aim for, and I think it was easy in the sense that we are targeting a population that would know we are very vulnerable to these events.
Susana, I remember seeing a data point from a trial in Bangladesh with the contingent line of credit with the clock that indicated that 31% of the entrepreneurs who were offered the clock, or at least informed that they had access to the clock, made higher productive investments as compared to the control group, even though not 31% of them took the loan. So it will be interesting to see the percentage offered the loan that take the loan, and whether there can be some type of evaluation of what productive investments they're making with that level of confidence behind them. We have just a couple of minutes left, and I want to get into a couple of other questions. I don't know that we'll have time for everything. Let me go to Sarah Ward. So Sarah mentions that it's been humanitarian efforts that have done anticipatory cash transfers in the past. These are loans. Does it seem a little anti-customer to loan money into a disaster context as opposed to a cash transfer given for humanitarian reasons alone? Juan Camilo, what do you think?
No, I don't think so, because actually we select a group of our customers that are very specific in terms of risk. So they have their normal loan or credit line, and also we give them this quick credit cash line to take these actions when a flood comes. So I don't think there's a problem there.
I'm curious, what range of loans are we talking about here? Just so the audience has an idea of the size of loan we're thinking of giving.
We're maxing in dollars, just $1,000 maybe. Yeah, $1,000 max.
That's a lot of money. So this will be very interesting. Hopefully, there's some good data points that come from the pilot in terms of how the money gets used, and obviously whether it's repaid and whether it's taken in the first place. Jorge also asks, could this mechanism be adapted through remittances, focusing a remittances quota increase as credit guarantees for clients relying on remittances to get access to better interest rates? So effectively de-risking the loan through remittances. Is there any engagement, Juan Camilo, that Bancamía has with remittances now, or is it just show up as a deposit and you don't know where it came from?
No, actually, that's a very interesting idea. And yes, absolutely. I said remittances already play a key role in family resilience. So connecting this model with remittances flows makes actually a lot of sense. Imagine, for example, a relative abroad sending money that's automatically linked to an emergency fund or an early warning alert. It would make support faster, smarter, and I think more protective. So yeah, I think it's a really great idea.
So thank you all for the questions. At CGAP, this is part of our portfolio to look at climate adaptation and resilience initiatives that are supporting micro entrepreneurs across Latin America, Asia, and Africa. And we want to see a lot of the same results that Atram, Bancamía, and BBVA will be tracking. We do care about impact, we care about sustainability, viability, and about identifying what quantifies as adaptation and resilience in itself, because even those definitions are sort of elusive to the industry so far. So we will be watching this pilot very closely as CGAP, and we've been supportive to this point and have done some research with David, Juan Camilo, and the team. I am sorry that we lost Susana. It seems like her connection was dropped. But David, any final thoughts from you before we close out?
No, I think we're very excited, as you were saying before, to start seeing some of these results. We know we're pushing into sort of uncharted territory, but we think this is a territory that is growing. We have more and more disasters, and if we don't do anything, then the pressure on the portfolios is only going to grow, and the pressure on the micro entrepreneurs is only going to grow. So we are all teaming up, because this is bigger than any of us, to be honest, and just trying to illuminate what will work. So we, as you were saying, we've been working with CGAP as our learning partner for the pilot. So we'll be publishing the main lessons at some point in the next few months.
Great. Well, thank you to Susana, David, and Juan Camilo for your time, and thanks to all of you for joining. There will be a recording made available of this discussion, and please watch for the results of this pilot with Atram and Bancamía in Colombia in the months ahead. Thanks, everyone.